10.7 has reached the PTR, and with it much of the foreshadowing for the future. Not only for the expansion, but for the story of World of Warcraft moving forward. Back before the release of Dragonflight, we made some predictions, the first of which just got confirmed, that there were in fact 5 old gods on Azeroth. Let's look together then at what this could mean. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and come, take a seat by the fire. The rumours of a 5th old god started a long time ago. It was heavily hinted at during the release of Chronicles. The art team had seemingly drawn the old gods. However, there was 5 drawn, rather than the 4 we knew, each being drawn with reference points to discern them. The 5th then being drawn with plants and vines, which seemed unusual. While I will link the original video in the top right and the description, I will also give a brief synopsis. It was based on a theory we had for some time, and with all of the hints from the Dragonflight beta, it made the most sense. It began with the theory that there was a highly dangerous 5th old god, one with the powers that presented themselves as a warped, twisted reality of life. Like much of the decay magic we've seen, the testing of a piece of this old god is what led to the creation of G'huun. This one was different. While the power of the other old gods was always twisted, this old god's mastery over decay presented a clear danger to the prison that held it. Its consciousness then was bound to the Emerald Dream to keep it intangible. We proposed that perhaps the great tree that bound it was named after it, G'huun. The great rot and decay seeping to the surface of the Dragon Isles was from this rotting corpse of an eldritch monstrosity. Even with the mind fettered in another plane of existence, it still spread its dark gift, most notably to the Decatriarch, who escaped justice by the way, and is out there still, with dark desires on the world. This brings us to the present, and notably to the 10.7 PTR. Within here, we find a curious change to an old book. This is found in Neltharion's private collection, and a series of notes and scribblings in the margins show a different side to the history of Azeroth. But the most relevant part is that it specifically states that there were 5 old gods imprisoned within the world. Now that confirms the theory that there were indeed 5, and while I will say of course the entire theory is not instantly confirmed, there is still evidence that the last old god has a deep connection to nature. Its tendrils were shown as leaves and vines within the margins. This is not the only reveal the book had for us. Once again, we are presented with the distant shores of Azshara. While we have been told that there are Titanforged there who rejected the Titan's path, it also mentions that this landmass is as old as the Ordering of Azeroth, that it was not shaped into Kalimdor with the rest of the world. This is lining up perfectly with the timeline we laid out in our speculation videos. From the underground zone in 10.1 and the rebirth of the old gods, to the distant shores of Azshara for 10.2. As the world is shrouded in darkness, we seek newfound alliances. Alliances with those who see that the old ways of the Titanforged have brought nothing but horror upon the world. While this news is exciting, the manner of its delivery is just as intriguing. That Neltharion is once again being shown to be not just a crazed dragon. His descent into madness happened much later than we thought. In the beginning, he seems like many of the other shadow priests that we run into. That they see the world from a perspective of a mind freed from the shackles of the Titans. Whether or not it was Neltharion himself who scrawled the notes in the margin remains to be seen. If it was himself, then he appears quite devoted to the shadow even then, talking about how the old gods would nurture the flesh of the world. We know, from experience of course, that this kind of zealotry to the shadow brings nothing but the same lies that the Titanforge spew. We have seen the old gods feast upon souls and the world itself. Yogg even told us, all souls may be devoured. So in light of the new information we have received in Dragonflight, the new foreshadowing, and the reveals of 10.7, how does our current theory stand on how the events of this expansion will still unfold? Has anything changed? The fifth old god of rot and decay remains the same. Desperately, it is seeking to free itself from its prison. The Emerald Dream has contained its mind for so long, but slowly, it has embraced the gifts of life, learning to twist its denizens against each other. This began with a few of the wild gods, notably Aviana and her children the Harpies. She became obsessed with restoring the great tree Gahania, unbeknownst to her that she was tending to the mind of an eldritch one. The old god then reached out to the Great Dark, searching for any with whom it had a connection. It finds kindred spirits of the Arakoa in Outland. Slowly, it whispered to the cursed children, convincing them to attack the dream and weaken its boundaries, so it may return to the mortal realm. This plan was foiled by adventurers, but it did not stop there. Like a virus, it would spread through the dream. When the other old gods gained access, it watched its former competitors with great interest, and they tried to bend the world to their will, as well as watching the mortals that fought against it with great intrigue. It is only with the defeat of Iridikron and the other incarnates that the seal to this ancient prison is accidentally destroyed. The dark waters flow once more. If it is here that we believe we will encounter Xal'atath once more, the unlikely ally we need to overcome this darkness, as the other old gods return. Even with all of this happening, we still feel this expansion will not focus on the old god threat, as much as dealing with the aftermath of the Titanforge lies. We feel like the distant shores of Avaloran is the perfect place to explore this truth. But, once again, we cannot escape fate, and it is here that the birth of Murazond begins. But the twist is that it was a sacrifice, one that had to be made. This self-contained continent is as old as the shaping of the world itself. It is here we will find the true history of Azeroth. Hopefully, one less coloured by the lies of any of the former slavers, be them old gods or Titan. I hope everyone is as excited as we are by this clarification in the lore. It opens up so many possibilities for the future, not just for the patches, but perhaps for future expansions are being set up right now. If you have a theory then, let us know in the comments, or even on the Discord. Oh, and don't forget to come back anytime.